like the fittest dudes I know, like jacked, they're never satisfied. Like
Right.
I'm friends with them,
Yeah.
It's like I bring Sean Nix on the road with me. He's super fit, and it's his days are like always like, what are we eating? What do we do? Like he's not like, oh, I'm in shape, I'm here, this
Right.
is it.
Right.
Mark Bell, same. Like
Tom Segura, welcome to the American Glutton Podcast.
Ethan, thank you for having me.
Sir, thank you for doing this. I want to talk to you about your own journey with weight and your feelings on health and all of that stuff. But I want to say first and foremost that I tend to look at guys like you and go like, he doesn't know. He has no idea, that guy.
That's so funny. Yeah. It's funny. I've had this conversation recently, and I think I kind of hinted to it when you came on my podcast. And I guess I kind of get it, because, I was talking to somebody about like health and fitness, and they were like, well, yeah, you're like a fit guy and you lift weights and work. And I was like, what? Like, it doesn't register like that in my brain. And we were talking about somebody who's like more overweight. And I don't know, my comparison for it to somebody who goes like, well, yeah, you've never been like 350 or 400, 500 pounds or whatever. I'm like, yeah, but there are alcoholics that go like, hey, I just was drinking like, 8 beers a day or something. And it was controlling me. And then the other guy goes, yeah, I was drinking a fucking handle of vodka. So it's like, it's way more. And you're like, yeah, but that doesn't make the other guy's problem not a problem. Like,
no, 100%. And I think I just walk around being a sober guy and a former, I still think of myself as an addict, but like I'm an abstinent addict. But
yeah,
I look at the world and go like, everybody's normal but me.
Right.
And if I don't see a needle hanging out of your arm, or you're not 500 pounds in a, one of those chairs that Walmart provides you to drive around the store, and I'm like, you're normal. And this is fucked. I think it's so fucked of me to consider people normal, because I don't think anybody feels normal.
Yeah, I think the older you get, the more you realize how not so many people are not normal. And you really realize how many people are just like crippled by their insecurities.
Yeah.
And the real one that like, I think surprises people is when somebody who you think really has it together, somebody who is like objectively good looking or, like successful, and you go like, well, that person definitely doesn't have insecurities. And then you learn that they do. Like, you can, we don't have to out them all, but you can look up these like superstars in entertainment or whatever who are super insecure about things. And you're like, how is that possible? It's because like, our brains have the capacity to do that to us. And it's just it's something you have to work at to deal with, And I mean, part of it is like, I think putting in the work, part of it's awareness, but I think you're probably, so part of it's acceptance, which is something I think usually takes time and kind of wisdom to get to. But yeah, I've been so like, I guess, aware and consumed by weight and physical appearance. I mean, I go back to childhood with it, and like I can tell you like exactly what was going on almost every year. I can from memory tell you my weight from like the time I was like 14 all the way through like today. and like it's all connected is what you realize. Like your where your mind's at, what's going on inside of you is directly related to what becomes external.
Yeah.
In my mind. And like, I remember being in 8th grade and really just being like, a little chubby, overweight. And I had this girlfriend, and I say she broke up with me. She had a friend read me a letter to break up with me. And I got this call and she's like, I'm supposed to read this to you. And I was like, what?
Oh my God. And over the phone too.
Over the phone. She read me a letter to break up with me. And the funny thing is, we were like boyfriend, girlfriend for 2 weeks.
Right.
And like, I think we went to the movies one time. Like, but it was like this big dramatic thing. And I was so bummed about it. And then and 8th grade ended. That summer, I started to go to run, like just go outside, go for a run. And I kept extending the run. And I was doing like a mile, and then 3 miles, and then 5 miles, and then like 10 miles. And then when I got to freshman year in high school, I had completely leaned out, and I felt really good about myself going into the freshman year of high school. And then a few months into that year, we moved. We'd moved a bunch, but moving in high school was the only one that was rough. Like when we moved in 3rd grade, I didn't care. When we moved in 6th grade, I didn't care. And I'm talking about state moves, but when we moved in that year, I was like, fuck, because I felt like you had kind of, your social circle is so important to you at that age. And like, I was like, oh, I have it now. I have this like cool social circle. And we moved again in the middle of freshman year of high school. And I remember just being like so anxious, like at that new school.
Yeah.
It was a small school. And, I played spring football that year. And I did really well. I was a freshman. I was starting on the varsity team. And that summer I went to South America. I went to Peru, where my mom's from. And I spent the summer down there. And like, I just didn't train as hard. And I came back as a sophomore, 210. And, some of it was from like lifting. So I was like a little bit bulkier, but I definitely put on weight. So I was slower. And I remember they moved me. They're like, you're not a linebacker anymore. You're going to go over here. And I just kind of throughout high school kept gaining weight. Now, it's not like I wasn't 380 pounds, but by the time I graduated high school, I was notably overweight.
Yeah.
I was probably like 250 pounds or something like that. But I wasn't carrying it well,
Right.
And I remember that I went to college, and it was the first time that I wasn't going to be an athlete in like as long as I could remember. And so I got like softer, like I wasn't, lifting, going to practice or anything. And after freshman year in high school, I think that was like, I didn't gain like that much weight on top of that, but I was just like, I didn't feel good about myself, man. Like I would really try to hide my own appearance from myself.
Yeah.
Like you look in the mirror and I just like turn away from a mirror, and it was like sophomore year in college had started. And I told the story before, but I don't know if we talked about like, you have like moments, you remember things like kind of snapping for you.
Sure.
And I think I remember you telling me something about, I think you were on a plane and
another actor, I sat, he like came over and was basically, not, the gist of what he was saying is like, you're going to hell. And for me, I was like, I don't know that I really believe in hell. And if I do, I feel like I'm probably in hell right now. Yeah. And so I'm here and you're part of it. And it was more like, I just don't like that. I never want this. I never want somebody I don't really know to be able to have this conversation with me again.
Yeah. And it's like, it stuck out to you, and mine wasn't a conversation. I'd started to hear things that were like, people would, I'd made like digs at you or like, jokes, comments, and you kind of just roll with them or ignore them or maybe snap back. Like I have a pretty, aggressive retaliatory tone. So
Right.
I remember like ripping this this chick that said something to me in college. And I was like, "You're calling me fat, you fucking pig." And like everybody was like, "What is going on?"
Yeah.
But I remember this vividly, is that when you're like overweight and you don't like your appearance, I think a lot of people do this thing where like you look in a mirror and you kind of self-correct for your own brain. So in other words, like if you are like, you look in the mirror, you kind of like,
Yes.
and you're like, and you tell yourself, I don't know, it's like your brain's version of going like, this looks better. And it's like, it's very temporary.
Yeah.
But it's like every time, you kind of like adjust.
And then you see a picture from another angle and you're fucking want to kill yourself.
Yeah, you're fucking mortified.
Yeah.
But I remember that like Sunday in college was for me was like, usually we had gone out Saturday night. So Sunday was like a quote recovery day. And so what we would do a lot is we would sleep in, and then it was like, let's go get something to eat. You know what I mean? Like to fill our alcohol filled bellies that are trying to like recover. So I was the passenger and my friend was driving, and we were just going through this drive, and we're going to get something to eat. And I remember that I was looking out the mirror, like I was looking out the window. And when I turned my head back, I caught a glance of myself in the side mirror, and I stared at it. Like I stared at it and I didn't like self-correct. And I was like, man, like to myself, I was like, you look terrible. But I didn't do it like to like be mean to myself. It was more like, get out of this denial you're in. Like,
yeah,
you have to do something.
You have to
about
confront
this.
it, right?
Yeah, I was like, this is what you look like right now. Like, this isn't going to just go away.
Yeah.
And the next day, it was Monday, I went to a gym, I signed up, and then I remember this lady was like, do you want to like me to sign? Do you want me to do part of like the new membership? I can do a nutrition plan for you. And I was like, yes, I want the nutrition plan. And what I did, dude, was I just followed that shit like to a T.
Yeah.
I followed it. Like I didn't fuck around with it at all. It was very structured, which I really worked for me.
Yeah.
Because, the other thing is sometimes people go like, just eat healthy. And like that didn't really work for me.
Yeah.
So over the course of, I don't know, man, maybe 9 months or so, I lost like 60 pounds.
That's awesome.
And it was awesome. And I felt great. And I remember that I kept hearing this thing. They said like, most people, when they lose weight or like a significant chunk of weight, they can't keep it off for a year. And they're like, right. That's the big thing. So I was really like focused on that. And then I got to a year and 2 years, and I kept that weight off probably until I was around 25. So I kept it off from like 20 to 25. And it was just a slow creep back. It was like, I had moved to LA. I was working in post production, and I remember I got a graveyard shift on one show, which is 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And, your whole thing
Sleep
becomes
is fucked up.
It's fucked up. And like, you're getting off work at 7 a.m. and you just want to fucking sleep and eat something. And when we were working, we were also like drinking like 8 cups of coffee a night and eating like Twizzlers and just like, just trying to like get through those shifts. I don't know how people do it forever, because it was miserable. And I remember shooting this thing where I brought my own clothes, like we were shooting some sketch, and I just grabbed pants and I went to put them on there and they wouldn't close. They were like this far apart. And I was like, fuck. And it was like the beginning of like a slow roll back to gaining what for me is like peak weight,
Yeah.
And it was like, and then I'm a stand-up but I'm new, and I'm like, you know, doing spots when I can, getting some road work when I can. And I sort of honestly, I kind of embraced the like slob, you know, like description and like persona.
Yeah.
So because I started to gain some of the weight back, and I was like, yeah, I'm like a slob, you know. So
Like it's part of my beingness.
yeah, and it wasn't even like I wasn't like, my act wasn't like I'm a slob, but I was like, oh, it, you know, it works. Like I tell these jokes, I look like this, and it was real easy to like slip back into, you know, especially like in, you know, when you're a comedian, especially when you're on your way up and you're broke all the time, you know, you go to clubs and they're like, you know, what do you want to eat? And you're like, how about the fucking cheese sticks?
Right.
And then follow that up with the pizza. And then later we'll have like your deep fried cheesecake or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're doing that. And we're up until, you know, I used to stay up until fucking 2, 3 in the morning, and you sleep till noon, and you wake up in some city, like you're in fucking Hartford, and you just tell the other comic, like, let's just go get something to eat, you know?
Yeah.
And then you eat shit. And it just becomes like this thing where I had completely lost any idea of nutrition, health, fitness, all of it. Like it was just gone. And and you can, you know, the thing for me too is like with you have movies where like you can like, it's wild, right? Like most people have like a photograph or a series of them.
Yeah.
But you actually have like fucking 70 millimeter footage.
Right.
Right. And like you can like really see yourself. And for me, like I have specials like where I could sit there and go like, I know that year, I know what was going on. And there's me standing there talking for an hour. And I, you know, I just kind of go like, do you get bummed out when you see yourself?
Well, dude,
like
I mean, like, I got to be honest with you. The first job I had was Boy Meets World, and I never thought about it in the terms you just said with the self corrections, but it's so true because I even do it today. Like I see myself in a mirror and I'm like, how do I get my traps to look better? But it's very quick. I'm not standing there for a long time. And oh, I got to stand like this. And then I have that
it becomes
posture
like,
for a minute, and then it disintegrates.
Split second. That correction is like you look and you're not even like conscious. You're like doing it so quickly.
The reality that smashed me in the face when I watched the first episode I was in, you know, my whole family got together and we went and what we were going to watch. You know, I was 17 or 18 years old. This is prime time ABC. And now I'm on this show, Boy Meets World, and let's sit around and watch it. The horror I was confronted with by seeing my body from angles that I was not accustomed to seeing myself in, and going like, that's what I look like.
Yeah.
And I never watched anything ever again from that moment on. I didn't like having my picture taken, and I made a point of never, you know, I'd like doing Blow with Ted Demme. He had this giant trailer truck that would come around to show dailies every day. And it was like a big deal that he had. And he had a little party in this trailer every day, and they'd watch dailies from the night before. And he would get pissed at me that I wouldn't come. He'd be like, come, we're all hanging out, we're having drinks, and we're watching this stuff from yesterday. And I couldn't do it because I couldn't see myself, because I wouldn't be able to like go back to work the next day.
I know, because that moment is also, it's not just you're like, that's how I look, that's what I look like. You're also going, oh, and that's what everybody sees all the time.
Yeah.
They see and then you go like, I wasn't aware that that's what everybody sees all the time. Right.
And it was startling to me.
And I guess the thing that I would add there is that, you know, you or somebody could be like, but you know, Tom, you weren't that bad or whatever, right? But what I've come to realize is that it doesn't matter what anybody tells you. Like it just doesn't. Like right now, I've been like getting a lot of like positive feedback because I've been working out a lot and I've been eating well. And so I've been losing weight. And, you know, there are people that go like, you should be happy now. Like, right. And I go like, I mean, I understand it. I understand. And like a lot of them are very positive and they're very encouraging, but I'm like, it doesn't matter what anybody else says to you. It only matters what you say to yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that like I have this impossible standard that I'm going after, but I just go like, well, I think I will accept the happiness of my physical, let's say, you know, being when it happened, when I feel it. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So like somebody telling me you look great, I'm like, oh, thanks. But maybe I'm not going to say I look great if I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
You know?
I also think something that has happened for me, and it doesn't have to be the same experience for everyone, but I've lost all this weight a number of times. I've been much thinner and smaller than I am now. Now I'm kind of hyper focused on retaining muscle mass.
Yeah.
And so it's different, but I've been thinner than I am. And the moment, and this is every single time that I have that sensation and I allow myself to feel like I did it, that's the end.
Right.
And then I'm on my way back every time.
Yeah.
So I'm really actively avoiding that.
And you're totally right.
Yeah.
You're totally right. I mean, I you know, it's a lesser degree for me.
Sure. But well, it is whatever it is. It is
what it like. I can tell you this, you know, I can go, like I said, I go through the specials. I've never actually said this, but I'll tell you this. So we did like this, we did this weight loss competition, Bert Kreischer and I.
Yeah.
In 2017. And we both, you know, just needed to lose weight. We weren't very healthy. We weren't like insanely overweight, but we needed to lose weight. I want to say we were probably like, to start that thing somewhere in like the 240s or something, you know. It's like, you're like, dude, you need, you know, this is not like a healthy. So we go on this, we lose weight and we both lose weight. And it was a lot of fun. And it was, you know, you're competing with your friend and I win, of course. But we get to the end of that. And then I shoot a special that year. And it was great because, especially if you compared it to the previous one, it was dramatic. I mean, I was down like fucking 50 pounds or something crazy. And I kind of, like when you said it right now is what triggered it. I kind of was like, oh, I got here.
Yeah.
And I was like pretty satisfied with the way I looked. And dude, it started to go up like again. Yeah. And I remember being very disappointed in 2019, which was it was 2 years later that I shot another special. And I had gained, I mean, I don't know, maybe like 25 pounds or something. But to me, it's like, I mean, people notice it, but like, to me, I saw it as like a huge failure.
Yeah.
You know, like the goal of those specials obviously isn't about like, what's your appearance? It's like, you want to put on a good show. And I was happy with the show, but I was very disappointed in myself that I think what happened was I did exactly what you said, where I was like, I got here.
That's it. And that's the whole thing. Yeah. I've been so wrapped up in thinking about this very thing, because this is the thing that I think, because I don't know anybody who's tried a diet and not been able to lose weight. Like, I've talked to people who have been on a diet for a while and lost weight, and then they stall, but just about everybody I know has then gained weight, and it's like really devastating. And this whole idea of like, you know, give me a one-word solution to my lifelong problem that I've been failing at miserably.
Yeah.
All I ever wanted was tell me keto is the thing, or tell me veganism is the thing, or intermittent fasting, and
make it easy and simple, and I'll fucking do that. Give me that. Yeah. And then what you learn, because you just made me think of this too, is that the fittest dudes I know, like jacked, fucking, you know, they're never satisfied. Like
Right.
I'm friends with them. It's
Yeah.
like I bring Sean Nix on the road with me. He's super fit, and it's his days are like always like, what are we eating? What do we do? Like act. He's not like, oh, I'm in shape. I'm here. This is
Right.
it.
Right.
Mark Bell, same, like fucking lunatic about
Yeah.
like, what are we doing today? Rogan, same thing. They're just like, it's not, I'm here. It's like, how do I keep going?
Yeah.
And I think that's a thing for a lot of people to like consider, especially if they just lost some weight, or they're feeling like, I did it. It's like, no, you kind of got to just,
It's for life, really.
It's every day. It's like,
Yeah.
You're supposed to be, I think you should like indulge and enjoy things from time to time, and not, you don't have to be like insanely strict about things. But overall, the message is like, yeah, you're just never done.
Right.
You're not done,
And that's the fucked up thing about sobriety for me. And when I try to make an analogy between my food issues with my substance abuse issues, because like you can't just be abstinent from food. You can't.
Right.
You die.
Right.
The end result of that is death. You die pretty fast too, right?
Yeah.
And so like being fat will take a lot longer to kill you than starving yourself.
Yeah. If you had 500 lbs on you, you could
live.
live for a while.
Yeah, probably get a year in me if I was able to hydrate, but then you still die eventually.
You will still die. Yeah.
Yeah.
You would.
So like this whole thing, like I completely agree. Like you can't, you're going to always eat. So you got to like figure out how you eat, and then be not like, I think rigidity is fragile, like the more staunch you are on something, then the more dangerous that thing becomes. So for me, I have to be staunch on drugs and alcohol, and they're fucking dangerous to my life. Like they will fuck my life up.
Yeah.
Food, on the other hand, because I have to eat, I have to be a little bit more lenient with myself, and still all the while recognize like I'm still a work in progress forever, every day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, yeah, I think, too, you realize with time, right? You get older, you have more experiences. And I think I forgive myself for things, but I also tell you, like, when you have these mental shifts where, you're really focused on something like health and wellness, I also find that my desire for like those crazy indulgences is really not there. Like I they happen from time to time, but it's not like, for me personally, I don't wake up going like, damn, I wish I could eat a dozen donuts or something,
Right.
Like I actually look forward, like once you are kind of in it, you kind of look forward to the healthy stuff. And I think for people, because I was talking to somebody who wants to lose weight. The funny thing is, I remember so many times, I don't know if you went through this, where you start, let's say, a diet, and you're like a week in or something, and scale doesn't really move. You don't really see anything happening. And you kind of just go like, whatever, right? And you kind of go back. That I think there's something that happens about when you start seeing like a 15-pound shift, where it's not 2 pounds, right? And it's like the momentum that you can gain from that. Like that's the hardest part, is getting somebody to that that momentum level, because once you get momentum, it's almost hard to go against the momentum. It's like, man, like, we did these crazy workouts yesterday and we ate great, and you're losing weight and you feel stronger and all this. Like, to push back on that is actually fucking hard to do.
Yeah.
But to get that momentum is the hardest thing to like kickstart everything. And it takes like a real desire to want to do that. Because I see people that just the struggle is the struggle to start, you know. It's like I think it's the fear. Like, I think people feel the fear of what if it doesn't work, and that keeps you from not doing it, you know.
Yeah, and all that effort plus not working, it's not worth it.
Yeah, it's like it's funny, like so many things are just like, it's just fear based, you know. Your people are fearful to have conversations. They're fearful to attempt you know, like, what, I want to be an actor or stand, and they're like, but what if it doesn't, I'm just not going to do it, you know.
Yeah,
you just like, you see it all the time. And I think fear is a big one for people who want to like, they want to change their lifestyle health wise, but it's like, what if it doesn't work, so therefore I won't start.
Yeah, dude, I used to have this whole wild computation in my head where I'd have like fit, active friends, and I'd go, I really want to talk to them and seek guidance from them, but I guess I need to lose 50 pounds before I can even have that conversation. You know, so it would be like this. No. And later in life, they were like, why didn't you ever talk to me? And I was like, oh, I really, really, really wanted to, but I felt that it would be insulting if I didn't show you that I was already doing it.
Yeah,
you know, it's so stupid.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
I thought you would be insulted that I would have the nerve to want to talk to you.
Right. About this problem that we're both like pretending isn't a problem.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, man. It's, I don't know. You know, what I'm happiest about right now is to be actively, you know, going at all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like I feel I'm on this very exhausting tour.
I want to ask you about that too, because I find disruptions to my schedule to be really hard. Like, for me, those are the things where I'm like, I don't have my food in the right place, my gym in the right place. I'm not getting up at the right time. I'm now in a different place. I don't know all the equipment. How do you navigate that?
There is, I mean, there's constantly adapting, but I mean, I can't say enough about, I'm very fortunate that I can bring Sean on the road with me. Right.
Yeah.
So this is, but the first thing is that, and you hear this, I think you hear this when you're not doing it and you're like, huh, is that when somebody says something is a priority, it's not about them saying it. It's like, well, show me how it's a priority.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if somebody says like, stand up is a priority to me, and you go, okay, like, how many times did you get on stage this month? And they're like, twice. You're like, it's not a priority to you. You know, like you show how so the thing that we did is that we make working out and eating right, like, it's basically, it's like putting fucking gas in the bus. Like, it just has to happen.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we've had days where, because of whatever happened, the schedule, or like being completely exhausted, sure, like we'll be like, it's a rest day. But basically, every day on the road, we get at least one workout in, sometimes two, and we're gonna eat right, like, I don't know, probably like 90% of the time now.
Yeah.
So we do, you know, there's things that you can do. Like, I have a tour bus, so like, you know, we have a blender, we have protein powder, we have meal bars that we found that we like. There's tons of water. They know to, like, if I am not there and we're going to order, they're like, get them like grilled chicken or salmon, greens, you know, like, and you start figuring out those things. Now, the gym situation, obviously on the road, varies a lot. Right.
Yeah.
Like, so for instance, yesterday we got to work out at like a college gym where the teams work out. It was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
So we got to actually do like real barbell stuff, you know, strict press, squats, and all this stuff. And it was incredible, but that's not obviously every city. So today we're here and we checked out the gym and it kind of sucks. So we're just going to do like a circuit, like a high intense. So we adapt in that way. But I wouldn't do half of what I do if I didn't have them with me.
Yeah. So
it's definitely, you know, I'm fortunate to have them. And then the other part of it is like, just, you know, you going, well, we'll make do with whatever we have. I mean, we were in a city, a real small town somewhere. I don't even remember where it was. That we stayed in the bus pulled up to a real shitty hotel that they had, and they had nothing there, like no gym. So we found a trail, because it was kind of like a rural area, and we would go and do like just sprints and then jog and then sprint and then so we make do with what is available.
Yeah.
Always prefer to have an awesome gym, but it's just not going to happen day to day.
Yeah, no, I've had to come up with full like body weight routines
totally
inside a hotel room, and then taking a walk. By the way, if people can't run, just walking is incredible exercise.
Yeah, and what you're kind of capable of in those situations where it's like maybe you can do a thing where you walk a little faster for 30 seconds or a minute.
Yeah.
And then you slow it back, like make it a little uncomfortable. Don't hurt yourself, but like make it, there's some discomfort in what you're doing,
Yeah.
And then, I've been in places that only have kettlebells, so we do a kettlebell workout. It's like, those are fantastic, by the way, for the people that go like, I don't want to go to gyms. And, you can literally go on YouTube and watch fucking 10,000 different kettlebell workouts from like beginner to advanced.
Yeah. One piece of equipment.
And that's the thing, you can do so much with that thing. I'm a big fan of them, and then you just start real light, work on your technique. And then, as that thing gets heavier and you get a little more skilled at it, they can be fucking unbelievable workouts.
Yeah, see. I can do very good kettlebell swings, but
Uh-huh.
all the other fancy stuff, Turkish get-ups and one crazy, and they're throwing them back and forth. I that's above my pay grade.
I think it's all like, it's not necessary. Like you can still, you do the swings and overhead press, goblet squats, rows, like bent over rows, and then like, get into doing snatches. And again, it's all technique. And if you've never done it, I would start with like a real light one, but you just work on getting that technique down. Then you put weight to it, and it's just, they're phenomenal.
Yeah. I carried one to New York once, and then on the way back, it got taken away because they were like, we have to weigh this. This is too heavy.
Oh, how much was it?
35 pounds. It wasn't even that heavy, but
they're like, you're going to club somebody in the head with this thing.
Right. Yeah. This is a cannonball. No, that is great. I like all that. I think that sometimes I have to rationalize everything and like talk myself through like, what is the necessity and why do some people not put on excess weight and I do, and all of this. And number one, I feel better when I exercise. So like choosing to not feel as good is an odd thing to do now.
Yes.
But on days when I do have to talk myself in, on days when I'm not motivated to go feel better, I just think about like, even in normal life, like I am predisposed to lethargy and apathy and just consuming television and not moving and not being gestural when I talk. And all of that means that my body's not burning fuel at a high rate.
Yeah.
Because I'll sit for 10 hours, no problem.
I'm with you, dude. I'm 100% just like you in that regard. And I was like born to chill.
Yeah, me too.
I'll chill the fuck out for a long time. And so, I do need that kick sometimes. I've never, like, that's the thing I was talking about. Somebody was like, I have never regretted a workout. Like the times when you're like, I don't want to do this, like afterwards you're always like, I feel so much better. You get those endorphins going. You're, like that cloud, like, a lot of times that you feel like a groggy. That's a big one on the road with all the travel.
Yeah.
Is that, it's new city. So you get there and you're kind of like foggy. And the thing you want to do is lay down. Which sometimes we do, but we, the whole thing is, all right, let's go. And when we go, you come out of that gym and you're like, all right, like I feel awake and alert and like I can go do a show now.
Yeah.
But if I go like this to a show, it feels like shit the whole time. You know? Like I can still do it, but I don't feel good about it. And it's such a odd thing when I remember telling somebody once that I was like, oh yeah, this is when I was like 40 pounds heavier. I was like, yeah, I like to work out because I like the way I feel. And he was like, you don't look like you like to work out. And
Right.
I was like, oh yeah. I go, you know what I just realized too is like in this exchange I had with the guy, I go, I just realized that I know that I feel better when I do it, but that I don't do it a lot.
Right.
And it's such a weird thing to realize, like in a moment in a conversation, you're like, oh yeah, like he's making a joke, but I was like, yeah, why don't I do it more? Because I know how much better I feel.
It feels to me like any if anything takes me out of it, like accidentally, I have to work and it's crazy hours and and there's just no way to get to a gym, and the work is hard, but I'm not, so hard that I'm not working out in my trailer at lunch, right? And
Yeah.
unlike The Rock, they don't give me a gym and hours to do that. If I lose 6 days and then like on the 7th day, I need to rest and I'm resting, it is so fucking hard to try to go to the gym on the 8th day or the 9th once I've had time off. Like you kind of forget, you go into some kind of like amnesia state where it's like that amazing feeling is not tangible anymore.
Yeah.
It's hard to get back to it. Yeah.
It's like a memory of a memory almost, like you don't access the feeling anymore.
Right.
You just go, oh, I used to do that, but it's not alive anymore inside of you. So yeah, you can't, I mean, that's like we were saying, it's fucking every day.
It's every day.
And I also think about that thing you said about like what some people like don't gain weight and stuff. And I think it's important to remember that there's something that you have that's good that person doesn't have too,
Sure.
Like, I remind myself of it because you go like, this fucking guy, but it's not like that dude's whole life is just like he's consumed about something else,
right?
He's got his own anxieties and insecurities and worries that you don't even think about because you're just like, how come he doesn't gain weight?
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm hyper focused on. Everybody who's thin has life made, and they don't have to pay taxes. They don't have, fucked up relationships. It's just that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a weird thing. Having had that problem, it's always fascinating to me how many people that I did categorize as normal people in my head are dealing with exactly the same things I'm dealing with. And I don't get into like mine was worse or this or that. It's exactly the same shit. It's shame and fear and self-loathing. And then it's a little bit of like, apathy or whatever it is that keeps us in that state, but it is exactly the same.
It's this. Have you met or been around somebody who's, let's say, impressively fit and they hate themselves? Because that was one of the eye-opening things. I was around a trainer once, and not my trainer, but I was around this trainer who he looked like a Calvin Klein like underwear model, right? Like we were like, this fucking guy. And then we would hang out with him. And one time he was just like, yeah, I'm fat. And when I was like, what did you say? And he was like, I'm fat right now. And I go, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And he's like, well, I just feel like I look like shit. And I thought he was doing a bit for a second.
Right.
And then we just kept talking and I was like, how is this possible? But that was that guy's internal dialogue. It kind of goes back to what I'm saying. Like, it didn't matter what anybody else would say. It never will for most people. Like, it doesn't matter that people tell you, you look great, you look fit, you look strong, you look thin, whatever the thing you want to be. It only matters how you see yourself, and like
Yeah.
you got to do whatever you need to do to feel that way.
That's another of the aspects that I was always expecting to disappear. The self-loathing and the shame that
Mm-hmm.
I carried around. I just kept going like, when am I going to feel great about myself? And
Right.
that just never happened. So even today, and I'm sure it's degrees. And so today I feel better about myself than I did 20 years ago.
Right.
And I think that's objectively true, but then I'll still have these negative thoughts. And I'm like, why? I've worked my ass off. I'm doing great. I'm objectively doing much better than I was.
Oh, by millions of degrees.
Right. And so why do I still have this feeling of insecurity about my physicality?
What do
And
you think it is?
I just think I spent so long with it that it's not totally connected. So you do all this work, and if you don't do the mental work too, if you don't
Yeah.
work on that, it's not just going to disappear with the weight. And so it takes a lot of like, you know, really looking at things as objective, trying to step out of however I feel about something on a given moment and go, why do I feel that way? Is it real? Is my feeling real? Because I think a lot of the times my feelings are completely arbitrary to like the situation I'm in.
100%. And do you ever do therapy? Like, do you like therapy?
No, but I talk to my wife quite a bit, and she,
Yeah.
I guess that could be a version of therapy. She's
It's
very good with it.
it's just interesting because, like you said, all the physical work in the world without mental is like, I think ultimately it's like you're doing almost like half the work, right? Because your
Yeah.
mind, and like that doesn't mean that everybody should go to therapy, but you have to in some way address the what's going on in your mind. Everybody does in their
Yeah.
mind, so whether that's reading something or listening to somebody speak or talking,
Meditating. Yeah.
meditating, talking to somebody. But yeah, I get what you're saying too, because you know yeah, I don't know that the shame and all that ever completely just dissipates
Yeah.
all the way. I think at least it's always going to be kind of like a hum,
Right.
in the
Yeah.
background. And
If it's not screaming at you, but it's
if it's
still
not
there.
screaming, yeah,
Yeah.
it's still there. I mean, I definitely feel the same. I feel objectively better about myself. But I definitely, it's funny, like you just go like, yeah, why do I
Yeah.
have these
Why am I a
horrible thoughts?
human being? Why am I having this human experience? I
Yeah.
wanted, I thought like a diet was going, I thought like I would pick a number and I would go like, okay, I need to be 180 pounds, which I will never be 180 pounds, but that would be my number. And I'd go,
Yeah.
if I could get to 180 pounds, I'll achieve this state of enlightenment. And, I will no longer be in this hell of this body and this mental baggage that I carry around. And nothing I did ever was just not true.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, it can just, it's endless. You can be an endless mental cycle about. I think that's actually, I remember I said this to you when you podcasted with me was, I think the worst part about when you're unhappy with your physical appearance is the amount of time you spend thinking about it,
Yeah.
because it becomes an all consuming thing where you just go like, I fucking hate the way I look. And you think about it from like when, like, you're basically distracted from thinking about it. So it's like, if you're not thinking about it, when you're done doing this thing, you go back to thinking about it.
Yeah.
And right. And like, I think a goal in a way is to just get yourself to a place where that's not your primary thought. Like that, I
Yeah.
hate the way I appear.
Yeah. I think when I think about the like, there's so many movements we have to deal with today, which are all kind of bizarre, but like the fat acceptance movement, there are,
Fuck.
I listen, it's for me too. It's like, I don't know, but I do believe
I'm
that
not on board with that shit at all.
I have mixed feelings. My feeling is just that if a person, it's hard to accomplish anything
Yeah.
from a place of I can't accomplish anything. And so if you just move your perspective into I'm a good person, I'm worthy, I love myself, then maybe it's easier to go accomplish that. So I think like get that message out there. People are great. Don't take away the feeling that I could change something about myself.
I think we've overcorrected the, like when we were kids and that whole generation coming up, the big thing was that people had, they're like, everyone's self-esteem is shit, right? So like we need to do something about this. And the overcorrection, in my opinion, is that we've gotten to this place where we go, everybody should have really high self-esteem. And the way to do that is to say that everybody is great and everything is good. And this huge push for fat acceptance, the way that I view it, is that it's become like, hey, you know what? You're born looking like this. You're 330 pounds. You're still beautiful, and you still look great. And it's like embracing the fact that, you know what? It's actually hard to lose weight. And so you don't have to worry about like how hard that is. You're here in this body, and you know, it's over pushing the idea that like everyone's worthy of love, because of course everybody is worthy of love, but it's an overcorrection, because you're basically saying it's fine that you're carrying this much weight. And here's the truth. It's not. We know it's not healthy. We know it's going to have long-term horrible side effects to your actual, like your longevity, your lifespan. We know the one that makes me get fucking the craziest is the idea that this is, it's appealing. Like it's physical, like, oh, this person looks great. No, they don't. You don't look great. You don't look great.
But I don't even think that, don't you think that that is like, they don't even believe that. I never think that
I don't think they really believe it.
Right.
But they sell it. They act like, and then, you know, and the other one is fucking, I see this all the time. Like, so like, it would be like, you know, Ethan, here's a picture of you before and a picture after. And today's like world, they go, hey, Ethan, you look great now, but I got to tell you something. You looked great before too.
I've had that.
That's fucking insane,
dude. I completely agree. And every time I've had somebody say that to me, I'm kind of like, you know,
it's bullshit. It is fucking bullshit.
It just doesn't land well with me.
Because you know that person doesn't believe it either.
Right.
They're just saying it because they think they're supposed to say it. And it's the way to be now. It's like, I mean, I saw fucking Adele, you know, she lost like 100 pounds.
She fucking crushed it.
Everybody was like, you look beautiful now, but just so you know, you look just as beautiful before. No, you didn't. That's why you fucking lost 100 pounds. You look much better now. Let's at least be objectively truthful about this.
Yeah.
Like we all know what desirable is in men and women. Like a man who is physically fit has some, like it is, we're pretending, like, of course you can go, somebody goes, I don't like that. Fine. But as a majority, the majority of people find that to be the desirable physique. The desirable physique for most people on women is like a slim waist and like obviously like being somewhat fit. And now we do this thing where we're like, nah, no, it's not. I like, you know, when there's like folds and rolls hanging over. All right, well, maybe you should join a fucking group, because it sounds like that's a niche category to be in. And you guys can go roll around in the mud together. But I think that most of us should live in reality, not this pretend thing that all bodies are glorious and beautiful. No, they're not.
Right.
They're not.
It's the participation trophies.
It totally is.
If everybody is a winner, there are no winners. Nobody's won.
It is. I really do think it is all about, like, you see this in culture from generation to generation. I mean, you see it politically, you see it in the arts, how the arts will change from generation to generation. And this is a thing that's happened where, you know, the 80s and 90s kids were, you know, like everybody felt like shit. And you realize that's actually what happens in your adolescence. Everybody's like confused and anxious and they don't know how to fit in the world. That's like part of being a human being. And I think we made it, you know, everybody got on pills. Everybody was like, you know, you need these fucking 30 pills to adapt to the world. And you fast forward like, you know, 30 years, and it's like the correction is everybody's a winner. Yeah. Everybody looks great. And it's, I understand why, like the origin of that. I understand that you want people to feel good and it's good to lift people up and give them the boost. But you can do it to the point where it's delusional. And that's what I see a lot now. There is complete delusion amongst people about even what we're talking about, physical appearance. Like, come on, man. What are you talking about? This person who's fucking struggling to walk across the room because they're carrying hundreds of extra pounds. You're trying to tell me that, like, that's fine. She's beautiful. No, she's not. And I don't think you're helping by telling her that. And the other part of it, I don't think she believes it either.
Right. I don't think they do believe it. I think Lizzo believes it because she's a rock star and she probably gets a lot of attention from men. So yeah. So I believe Lizzo. I also like the idea of young girls who are overweight not hating themselves.
That's
I like
also
that
positive. Idea. I also think Lizzo should be like, I'm beautiful, all this. And if you want to feel like I feel, you should also be like a superstar, because that contributes to the way I feel.
Right. I think that's a big part of it. Like,
of course it is.
She's rich. She's on private planes everywhere. Like, that's fun. That's a good life.
And I'm on stage and people are like screaming, and, you know, that contributes to the way you feel about yourself.
Yeah. It's a weird, I feel very old, and my teenage kids call me say that I identify as a boomer, because I kind of do. Like, there's a little bit, when I was a teenager, we dyed our hair and we did rebellious things, but I think the big difference was we didn't insist that you consider our reality objective reality. And now we're getting this message that we're changing objective reality and you have to get on board. And it is pretty bizarre.
It's very bizarre. And I think, ultimately, I don't think it helps. I just don't. I mean, it's well, my opinion, but I don't think it helps.
I wonder if America continues to subsidize the foods that it does and create, less necessity for moving around, as people become more and more obese, and guys like you and I who are like, I'm going to make it a lifelong endeavor and pursuit to not have that be my life anymore. That's pretty rare. I don't know. I think when the majority is overweight, which we're rapidly moving towards, suddenly health markers and averages are going to change, because that's how those things work. They're based on statistics.
And a big part of this is that, this is why podcasts honestly can be so beneficial. People don't know, man. People don't know, like you know things that you think that your average person knows about nutrition or fitness, and like they don't know. People don't know where to start. A lot of people, they don't know. They're going to the store and grabbing the thing because they're like, isn't that what everybody eats? Like, eating like this. They don't know how to lean into, hey, load up on this type of lean protein, like have some fruit, like, you think it's like basic stuff, or like how you should move every day and do something. So I think the more, you're getting this obesity spike, and this processed food is just, and those people are living here with it. They're just not even aware. And without somebody explaining it to them, which is why I'm saying, like, somebody listens to you talk about it, you could be educating people you don't even consider. You don't even think about the fact that they're like, oh, I've never heard this before. I didn't know what to do. And you just explain somebody what to do.
Yeah. I have a lot of trouble ever telling people what to do because
but you're sharing what you do.
Yes.
Which is like, that's like a version of it, because if I'm in the position where I'm listening to you and you're just going like, this is what I do. I mean, there's a chance that, you know, you go like, oh, I didn't know he starts his day like that.
Right.
Because, and I, you know, and you're doing stuff that I want to do and you're being active. I'm like, shit. All right. He does this in the mornings. He eats this. I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
To somebody that's been eating like a fucking cereal for 20 years or something, they go like, they just go like, well, that's just what I eat. I don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do.
I had bison and rice for breakfast.
Nice. I've become such a big bison fan.
Me too, dude. It's so good.
It is we've had it twice in the last month on the road, just by chance. You just go to a restaurant where they have it, and if they have it, I get it. And it is, oh my God, it was like, it's so tender. Yeah. But like with the way that it was prepared for me both times was that you used to getting the, you know, you order a ribeye steak, and a lot of times they're so marbled and like so fatty, which can be delicious.
Sure.
But it's like, it's too rich. So we get to a place and they were like, oh, we have a bison ribeye. And I was like, what's that like? And they're like, it's leaner, but it's still good. And it's exactly what they said. It was like, instead of being super marbled, there was like a leaner cut, but it was still tender.
Yeah.
It became like my favorite one to get.
Yeah. It's got more protein per gram than beef by a fair margin. It's so fucking great.
I ordered some for the house. I'm just like, I'm all on board with, I'm going to go shoot a bison as soon as I get out of here.
Yes. Amazing. Tom, thank you so much. This has been such a cool conversation. I really appreciate
it. Yeah, man. I had so much fun. Thanks for having me.
All right. See ya.